Hi, you're watching Floyd Steinberg's YouTube channel. On this channel, among other things, I like to talk about DIY synthesizers and groove boxes and all kinds of neat projects from single developers or small companies. And usually, building those things isn't too expensive. Usually you have those things lying around, and if you don't, buying them will cost you around $100 maximum. But whenever I do a video on a new open source or DIY project, there's always one or two people who ask me, this is all great and good, but can't I just use a cheap tablet or smartphone instead, achieving the same or better results? So yeah, let's talk about this today. If you're interested, please join me in this video. First things first, everything I say here is my own personal opinion, and your opinion might be something else entirely. And as long as we can mutually respect that, everything is fine. Now let's get into it. We can answer this question quite quickly. Smartphone always wins. Chances are you already own one. I mean, most people do. And digital audio workstations for smartphones aren't that expensive. You can buy them for around $10 to $30, and they're quite powerful. They come with powerful sequencers, lots of plugins, and there should be something there for you. You can definitely create a whole song on a smartphone without any trouble. Also, a smartphone of course is battery powered, and it's portable, and you should really get every sound you need out of some of the synthesizers built into your DAW. And let's please not start the discussions about analog synthesizers and their warm sounds. In order to nullify that, here's an example of a sound. One is recorded from a smartphone, one is recorded from my Yamaha Montage digital synthesizer workstation, and one is recorded from actual analog synthesizer. Listen carefully and perhaps you'll find out which is which. Contrary to that, there is no way you're going to produce a whole song on devices like the Roland J6 here, which is a 4-voice synthesizer with very limited sound design options and a very limited sequencer. This is built for a very specific purpose. And even more complex open source project like Microdext here, which has a sequencer, which has multiple synthesizers and some effects, is never ever as powerful as a digital audio workstation on a smartphone. On this you have 2 FM synthesizers, 2 virtual analog synthesizers, a drum track, an electric piano and an organ track. On the smartphone, you're limited by CPU power and memory only. So what gives? Why even bother? Building these devices takes a lot of time, right? Why not make music with what you have already? So hardware synthesizers are big, clunky power leeches, which often don't deliver the amount of effects and tracks and voices the smartphone DAW has. And on top of that, they're mostly not battery powered. By the way, how do you like my new intelligent camera here? I can walk around in my room while I talk to you. That's so cool. But back on topic. This approach to hardware synthesizers is kind of not seeing the forest for the trees, as a phone is a communications device mainly. So in order to use it for making music, you'll probably need a MIDI controller, MIDI and audio interfaces, speakers or headphones, and you need to buy the DAW software and plugins, and if you don't use Bluetooth MIDI, you'll need a lot of cables and USB interfaces as well. And all of that results in a relatively clunky and complex setup with a workflow that will frequently interrupt you because someone messaged you on Discord or WhatsApp or Instagram or whatever. And don't don't get me started on latency. And often setups like these have a lot of hidden costs, so the smartphone itself isn't free of charge. You pay for it every month with your phone bill. And as I already said, most digital audio workstations on Android or iOS come only with the most basic plugins, and there's a lot of stuff you can buy afterwards, so your expenses will quickly rack up to more like 100 or 200 bucks depending on what you're buying. And the point to be made for keyboard synthesizers, like for example this Yamaha Montage here or this Yamaha X5 here or whatever classic synth you can own, they look nice, and there's something in the physical world you can place there in your room and marvel at because it has value, you can touch it, and most likely it will inspire you to make music. And speaking for DIY synths, these give you the experience of building and learning something. In other words, the process of getting there is a big part of the experience here. So learning about PCB design and programming and 3D printing, operating systems, electronic components and what they do, digital to audio conversion, analog to digital conversion and the trap faults therein, the different type of microprocessors, development environments, computer-aided design, programming directly on hardware or within an operating system, and learning what libraries are out there you can use to build your project, and learning which companies and services exist that can help you building these things. All that is part of the journey, and acquiring these skills certainly isn't useless. So asking if a tablet or a smartphone is more capable than these devices is kind of missing the point. Of course it is, of course they are. But then that's just like asking a person who just bought a 10,000 piece puzzle why they didn't buy the poster instead in the first place. So finishing a particularly complex project like Syntheon here, for example, will give you that immense feeling of pride and accomplishment that no smartphone in the world can really give you. So there you have it, that's my answer to this particular question. If you think I'm right or if you think I'm wrong, please leave a comment under this video. Please do that in a polite way. We all have our opinions here and I respect that. If you think this was a good YouTube video, please consider subscribing to the channel or press the like button, which always helps this channel grow. So that's that. The pros and cons of using smartphones for producing music versus using DIY devices for producing music or strange noises, that is. And I said, let's talk about this in the beginning of the video, so yeah, let's talk about this. I'm curious to hear your opinion, so please write it down in the comments under this video. As usual, I'll take the time and try to answer each of your comments, and perhaps we can get a small discussion going here. So if you think this was a good YouTube video, please do the YouTube thing. And as always, thanks for watching and see you again very, very soon. Bye bye.